Here we go. Hi, everyone. Today we are talking to a lovely couple in our podcast, William and Sarah, also known as the Guilkeys. I hope I'm saying that right. And they are
Yep.
an American couple that love to share their adventures and day-to-day life with you through their own YouTube channel. Their YouTube page is called Guilkeys Limited Adventures, and they give valuable tips and information about traveling in the US and the accessibility of those places as well. Their channel is very interesting. It is fun. It's filled with positivity. And I would just like to say welcome, William and Sarah. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Good.
Thank you for having us. We're glad to be here.
Thanks.
I'm so glad that you guys are taking some time in your busy schedule to talk to us today, that you guys are not adventuring today.
At least not till this is over.
Right. So yeah, I've been following you guys' YouTube page, I think probably almost from the beginning, and I thought it was a lot of fun. And I'm just happy that you guys are sharing your story with everyone and also the travel in the US, because like a lot of people need that information, and it's also good to get like the review of, let's say, certain state parks, how things go, and how the accessibility is there. But could you tell us a little bit more about how and why you started your YouTube channel?
Well, sure. Well, as you said, my name is William. This is my wife, Sarah, and we have been married since 2012. So we met a little bit later in life. And when we first got married, we talked to each other about we didn't want to wait to live our lives. A lot of people wait until they retire and then they find out they don't have the health to support that or the means or anything like that. And so we determined early on we try to live a little bit below our means and make plenty of time for experiences in life. And that went really well for the first couple of years in marriage. We're really into the outdoors. We used to do a lot of bird watching, hiking, a lot of little trips, things like that. And about 9 years ago, I started heading toward this path of blindness. With my first diagnosis was cataracts, and then I tore a retina, and then I had neovascular glaucoma and several surgeries there until it culminated in October of last year when I was declared legally blind. So that hit me in my mid 50s. I was 55 at the time. And when that happened, it's a difficult transition for a mid or late career person to go blind. And I hadn't been used to a lot of the technology and things. And one of the first temptations is to think that your life is kind of over and all the things that you like to do are never going to be the same again. But one of the things about my own personality is I really hate quitting. I detest that very much. And I had made a decision I was not going to stop living. Life is too short as it is. There's way too much to see out there. And I wanted to really see as much as I could, and even more so now that I'm going to be seeing less and less. So we don't have a bucket list per se, but we talk off and on about things we'd like to see before we die or before I can't see them anymore. And so we kind of use that as the basis of the things that we want to do. And then we do a lot of local travel. Well, I say all that to set the stage for the why of our channel. One part of our life before, it kind of culminates with two things. It's about not quitting. We want people to know, just because you're challenged with your sight, don't quit. You may not have the same kind of vision I do, or you may have better, a little bit worse, but there's still something that you can do. And so we want to encourage people not to quit, number one. But number two, in our own lives, we were very active in kind of serving our communities, often through our church and things like that. But we would go to your rescue mission kitchens and serve people food, or create kits and take them around to the homeless. A lot of different things that we did like that helped to serve other people. And so when we were looking at some of our own travel, we often look at YouTube and see other people that have gone there. And we found there are a lot of sighted people that have all these wonderful sites about all of these places we want to go, but it's really limited in terms of telling us how accessible things are. And so we took that kind of itch that we have needed to scratch to be able to serve other people. And we wanted to fulfill a need maybe among our community, the blind community, to let them know how accessible many of these things are. So we took our love for travel, our love for having fun, kind of married those together, decided to keep living our lives. And we thought, why don't we use this and help other people? And so the idea was sparked. My wife's pretty good with technology in terms of editing videos and things. And we thought, well, we'll do it like that. And we'll set up a YouTube channel and invite people. And if they want to come and be part of it, we'd love that. And that was basically the catalyst for why. It was a way that we could help kind of scratch that itch to serve people and still continue to have our own fun. Do you have anything to
Yeah, and build a community so that they can actually help us and answer our questions too. So if we haven't been to some place, then they could, offer that help to us too, just back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so great because what happens often is sometimes people have an idea and they want to go somewhere, but because of the lack of information about how accessible it is, not everybody is strong enough to get to that surprise of what is about to happen. And then if they're like on your YouTube channel and they have as much information as possible, it might like get certain people over the edge to go and check it out as well.
That's
And we
our hope.
think too with people with limited mobility. So maybe they can't walk a mile, but it's helpful to know that maybe there's a bench halfway through or, small things like that too. Or even someone like William, sometimes he'll say, I'll sit here, go ahead and I'll wait for you. So then if there's something I'm able to do, maybe there's a bench or maybe there's something else he can look at while I'm doing something. So we want to provide that information too. Anything that's helpful to people.
Yes, that's absolutely great. I really love that. And as you say, there is definitely a need for it. So I will make sure that the link to your YouTube channel is definitely in the description below so everybody can easily find it. And I would say everybody go and subscribe and follow. And as I'm doing, I love it. Even people that are sighted, it's a lot of fun. But I was wondering, like, how do you choose your destinations? Like, based on what do you choose? Like, okay, I want to go visit certain places.
You want to start with that?
I think like he's going to say, if you've ever heard the story of the city mouse and the country mouse, William's always been more big city. And I've always been like anything nature, camping. I love that kind of stuff. But he does like that too. And I do like culture. So we kind of compromise. Like maybe we'll say, hey, I'd like to see this or do this. And we'll get like a short list. And like also, some trips are just a lot more expensive. So, the United States is huge. So that we could stay here and take trips, forever. There's so many places to see. So we just, I guess, compromise, choose what we like. And we like to try new things too. So like just recently we went on a train trip across the US out to San Francisco and back. And that was really new for us, to do something like that. So we like to try new things and, it can be scary, but we work it out.
I think one important thing for the viewers is if they're thinking, well, I don't know if I can do that or anything. I'll tell you, like in our lives, plans change all the time. Or for our 5th anniversary, we plan to go to Yellowstone, and I got cataracts that year. And so that wiped out a lot of my personal time at work, and it wiped out some of the finances that we had allocated for a trip to Yellowstone. We had all of it booked and everything. We had to cancel our trip to Yellowstone. But if you stay tuned to our channel, our next big video we're sending out is Yellowstone. So we did go for our 10th anniversary. And I just want people to know, like, some of these things, they're not spur of the moment. We plan them way in advance. The Redwoods was like that. That was something I wanted to see with my natural eyes while I still could see that. So that plays into it a lot. So we look at things like that. We also like bluegrass music, which is a really uber country style of music in the United States, like really, really country. And we'll travel to see some of that, and we'll incorporate experiences into that. We've done some real neat hiking adventures like in Menominee that time. So a lot of it is just our interests, and then we just get a whim and just run with it.
And how much money we've saved up. If we can only go 3 hours up up north, we might just do that, you know?
So we try to
Yeah,
budget
that's
for it.
That's it. And you know, there's always something for everybody's budget as well, right?
Mhm.
Like it doesn't
It's really
have
true.
to be a big expensive thing. Like you can do something in your state that's something you haven't done before, and that is not, you know,
Mhm.
the biggest amount of money as well. And like
Mhm.
choosing a certain destination, does accessibility play a part in it, or do you say like, you know, no matter what happens, we're going to go for it?
Both, I think.
Yeah, I wish we were maybe. I don't know. I'm real happy with what we do. We're a lot more. Let's roll the dice and roll with it because we want to experience. Like we have like the overarching thing we want to experience, but we also know we're. What do you think? Realistic enough to realize that if we get there and it's just not completely doable, we're gonna get as much of that experience as we can and not really lament the fact that we couldn't do it all. And part of that plays into something. I know it can be an issue that divides a lot of the blind community, but I had a gentleman from the state of Wisconsin that came to help me when I first was going blind. He gave me my first cane and things like that. That he would teach me how to walk with the cane training and all that. And he went blind at 12 due to a hunting accident. He got shot in the eye and he's has 7% field of vision. And he said, you know, a lot of times you'll hear you can do anything a sighted person can do. And he said that's true, like to a degree, but just understand in a lot of ways it's not first rate. It's going to be just a little bit different. And as long as I'm able to wrap my head around that and realize that, yeah, I'd really like to climb to the top of that, but that doesn't seem very safe.
Yeah.
My wife can enjoy that, and I can enjoy that she's enjoying it. We still find a lot of fun things to do. So we do kind of just go for it sometimes.
Here's a good example. There's a state park. I think it was like 6 hours away, and it's supposed to be the most beautiful state park in Indiana. And we really wanted to try it, but we knew it was going to be tricky. And there was like 70 steps and then a suspension bridge. And
Oh,
then
wow.
all these paths, which were okay, but then you had to cross streams on rocks, and they were kind of tippy. And like William has no vision down, so I mean, we did it, but there came to a point where like, okay, we can't go any farther. It's
Yeah.
too tricky. Like someone's gonna get hurt, and but we wanted to try it
And
because
you went a little further.
yeah, we don't want to be limited completely, though we know we are limited to some things, but we wanted to try it. And then that made a great video to tell people like, hey, here we tried it. We could do something. We couldn't do it all, but we still had fun.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. And yeah, and it's great to still enjoy it, even though you haven't been able to do everything. I
Mhm.
guess probably in the beginning, like how was that for you then William, to adapt to the fact that you had to do things differently and you had to change your ways a little bit?
Yeah, I wouldn't lie to the audience here. There's a grieving process with that. I think that's natural. I was fully sighted before, relatively able to do about anything I wanted, and some of that really got ripped from me. And then the other thing, as a husband, that made it hard for me is I used to mow my own yard. You know, that may not be a big deal in maybe a European city where there's not a lot of yard, but in the United States, it's kind of a badge of honor for a man to have a well manicured yard and mows
Yeah.
nice and everything. And I lost my ability to see to do that. And my wife does that now on every week. And it kind of gave me some shame. So I had a little bit of shame happening, but she's been a super supportive partner, really encouraging. So I would say, first of all, to answer the question, I did grieve the loss of some things. I grieved being able to just hop in my car, drive somewhere that I enjoyed doing, and coming back on my own. I depend on Sarah for almost all of that. We have very poor public transportation here. So there was a grieving process there. And then some other things that I would enjoy doing, I know I wouldn't do as well, like sporting type activities that I might like, but I still give it a try. So I had to kind of lower my expectations on my abilities, which probably needed to happen anyway as I'm getting older and older. And then to just understand that there's just a lot of other fun things that you can do. And I just start learning to change some of my interests. Like life is too interesting just to give up. You know, I'd rather what I'm able to do is still way better than just sitting on my couch doing nothing and lamenting my life. So really have a great chance to do plenty. And after I kind of got through that grieving process, that helped. I won't lie again, and I'll say that I still have fears occasionally for the future. I wonder what's that going to look like? How's it going to be as I get more and more blind and maybe can't work and things like that? I have normal human emotions like everybody else, but attitude will take a person a long ways. And the more grateful I am for the things I do have, and the more positive I am, the better my life seems to unfold.
That's beautiful. And do you feel that traveling has helped you in some kind of way? Does it help you with grieving or getting more confidence?
I would say there is a certain level of confidence that comes with it, for sure, because that would be the one knock, I think, if you ask me what really changed in your ability to travel, it would be that my confidence decreased. I remember going through Japan, the airport there in Narita, with sight, but compromised sight as it was getting worse, and how scary that was. And I think now how much scarier would that be? But being able to go through that, I noticed that I had some lack of confidence, but getting through it does give me more confidence. And so as we conquer some other adventure each time, it's just like another little win in my bag of wins, I guess, and lets me think like, yeah, I'm willing to try that next one too. And maybe there'll come one that I fail and we just like, no, that's not going to work at all. And that's okay. I'd rather try and fail than not even try at all.
For
So.
sure.
Yeah, that's good. And if you would think within your travels, is there some kind of experience or certain moment that has really stuck? There's something that has really changed something in you guys?
Yeah, this was one we enjoyed talking about on our own. I hope I'm not over
No, you're
talking
good.
here.
You're good.
But this was one we really enjoyed talking about. I'm going to give you one international story and one domestic story for me. The international one was when I went to Rwanda. Part of that, there's this, as a lot of people may know, in the mid-90s, Rwanda was impacted by a genocide that wiped out virtually a whole generation of people. It was a really sad story. And so there are some poverty there with some people, and there's this ministry that we have dealt with before that helps children and gives them education, helps families out of poverty, things like that. Well, along with that, we had sponsored a child from there. So I sponsored a young man. His name was Kamana. He's from a very poor region in Rwanda, over near the Tanzanian border. And it was actually land that was allocated to Rwanda from the government of Tanzania after the genocide to let people settle there. Super, super poor. Well, one of the privileges I had when I went over there was I got to go to his village. It was in an area called Kajeo, and I got to be a visitor in his home. So I actually sat on their dirt floor. Well, so a lot of people sat on their floor. They actually gave me a bench like I was a guest of honor, and his family sat on a dirt floor.
Oh, wow.
And I got to meet his family, and I got to share my faith with them. And in that place, it's a very collectivist culture. So the whole village was over there, and their heads were ducking in, peeking in. We get a photo of that. And that was one of those moments that just filled me with gratitude and made me feel very grateful for what I have. The odd thing is, I was there during the Thanksgiving season, the American holiday Thanksgiving, and I came back through the airports, and it was Christmas and all the commercialism and craziness here at Christmas. And I thought, I just saw some of the darkest poverty ever, and it sort of gave me a little different idea of Christmas at that time. That was the international. And the domestic was actually just this past year when we went to California. I had always wanted to see the redwoods. I heard about them and all of that, and could never really fully grasp a tree like that. And we went to Muir Woods, just north of San Francisco, and we went among all of these just majestic redwood trees. And there was nothing quite like standing at the base of one of those trees and looking up and realizing how truly small and insignificant I am
Yeah.
in this world. And that was one of those moments that kind of transcended space and time. It was just amazing to be in the presence of such beautiful nature.
I think so too. I think when we were there, we even said this might be our most favorite place on earth. It was just amazing. And I think the other one for me would be the first time I saw snow-capped mountains, because we live in the Midwest, so it's pretty flat. But do you
Yeah.
remember when we were in the Bighorn Mountains and I'm
Yeah.
like, is that a mountain? Like, it was just so amazing for me to see it for the first time. Like, there was snow on it. And yeah, that was amazing to me.
Oh, that's beautiful. When we are thinking again about accessibility, because that is also something that everybody loves to know. If you think about a certain destination, it doesn't matter where it is, if it's in the US or elsewhere, what destination would you feel is like the most accessible? Which one is like going a little bit easier than the other ones?
I think we're going to be the same on this
Yeah,
one.
and I think it's going to be a surprise to a lot of people. But and you're going to see it in our next video.
It's
Is oddly enough
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone National
National
Park.
Park.
Yeah.
We're
Oh, great.
very accessible for people. Part of that is the land is full of these thermals. It's very dangerous to be on the ground.
Oh,
Some
yeah,
people
yeah.
have died from that. And so they have an incredible system of boardwalks in almost every place that you could travel. And then you should talk a little more with the roads.
Well,
and
and
things
you
like
think
that.
too, like, even if you never got out of your car, like, you could see everything. Like, there's animals that cross the road, buffalo, elk. I mean, you could just drive around and have a great time if you never got out of your car. But even if you do, on all of these boardwalks, like, let's say you don't have good vision, you can hear them, you can smell them. Some
Oh,
of them
yeah.
are pretty stinky. Like, there's so much more than just to see everything. Like, we were there in May, so normally May, here is like spring. So maybe, what would you say, like the 60s and 70s? We had a huge snowstorm. It was like
Yeah,
a blizzard
sure
there.
did.
So
Oh,
like, you
really?
never know what you're gonna get. And like, vision or no vision, it's still super neat, and so many accessible places. Yeah, for
We-
sure, Yellowstone.
We can actually kind of validate that with a story that we'll tell you when we got back, where our trip served to help someone else. My wife grew up with this lady that her parents were aged, and her dad, turns out he was in the last year of his life, and they wanted to take him to Yellowstone. He wanted to see Yellowstone, and
You wanted
Sarah
to
told
see
them,
mountains.
yeah, how accessible it was and how they could have a great time. And she took her parents out there, and they did everything, stayed in the car as much as they could, but saw all of that. And he got to experience Yellowstone, and then he just died a few months ago.
Oh,
But
wow.
he didn't let it hold him back. And our trip was a part of that catalyst for her to
Yeah.
go ahead and decide, like, yeah, I think I'll do that.
Yeah,
And
just like sharing that information, like,
Yeah.
don't let it hold you back. Go. Like, there's always something someone can do.
yeah.
That's great. That's great. We're getting slowly to the end of this interview. What would you like to say to people that are still looking for that little push to get out there and to start traveling?
You want to go first?
Well, you can talk about the traveling part, but I'm going to talk about at home part. I think that William and I are so good at doing things at home too. So we love other cultures, and we maybe just for fun will say, like, let's have an Indian dinner, or let's learn something on maybe on TV or YouTube about a culture, and then, like, let's make the food that they would eat there, or just some fun things you can do at home if you are limited to get out. Of course, I still think, even just locally, like, our city has a bandshell concert every Monday in the summer. So, like, even something like that, like, just to kind of get your feet wet, get out of the house, and even if you can just sit there and listen. Yeah, my advice would just be, try something, even if it's little at first, or even if it's just at home.
That's
That
great.
real quick before I give you my last answer, that will explain part of what our channel does with all these shorts. There's a few things we just like to show. We love to have fun. And part of what we try to do too is we don't only want limited mobility and blind people to find us and watch. We want to raise awareness of blindness and all of that with all of our friends and family. So we do a lot of just crazy things that may make no sense from a travel perspective, but we're just trying to show people that you can be on vacation, or as we say here, on staycation, and still have a great amount of fun. But what I would say, to answer your question directly, I've done it before, but I'll do it again. I would quote Elton John on this one. I think he's a wise philosopher in The Lion King when his song says, "There's far too much to take in here, more to find than can ever be found." And that's the way I like to think of it. Like, there's a whole lot of this world. If I live to be 120 years old, I'm never going to see it all, but I want to see as much of it as I can. And I don't want to use my blindness as some reason why I won't even try. That's not to say I'm not sympathetic to people that are just going through the diagnosis and maybe feeling overwhelmed right now, or maybe feeling scared. I get those emotions. And if we can ever help you with that, if you ever make a comment to us on our channel, we'd be glad to engage with you. But I would like to encourage you, if it's just a baby step, to take just one baby step and then take another one and see how far that baby step will take you down the road so that you can enjoy life too. You don't have to give up just because you're blind.
And I would say, Lindsay, on your channel, the people I've seen in the stories I've heard, I'm amazed. Like, I hope someday that William could travel alone like that and, you know, be brave and strong enough to do that. So, I mean, it's helpful to us too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been great. I've been meeting so many incredible people, and I've been so happy that I've been able to talk to you guys as well, because yeah, as I said before, I love your channel, and I'll make sure that everybody can find your channel in the description, so everybody can go and check it out and see what the fuss is all about.
Sounds
And
great. Thank you.
yeah, where is the next trip going?
We're going to have Yellowstone for our next video, but our next kind of trip is going to be down in southern Missouri and Arkansas. That's going to be in September.
Branson.
Yeah, the
anyone
Branson
here who's
is
heard
like
of
a
it,
country
yeah.
music capital of the world outside of Nashville.
Right.
And then our
Yeah.
next really big one on a train is going to be January or February of 24, when we plan to go to New Orleans.
Oh yeah, great.
Yeah.
I've just recently been to New Orleans. Yeah, it's
Nice.
also super vibrant, and there's music everywhere, and yeah, it's such a great place.
Yeah, we're looking forward to
Happy
it.
place to be. Yeah. All right.
We
Well,
need
thank you
something
so
that-
much. And we'll definitely be talking to each other again on the channel. And I want to say thank you and have safe travels.
Thank you. And we do enjoy your channel too. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Bye.